we want to look at the second assignment, and it constitutes 40 marks. Right. So it covers units 2 and 3 of the study guide. All right, so let's just read some instructions before we start looking at assignment. All right, so let's read the instructions. That is very important before you can start answering the assignment. Use a spreadsheet to model the scenarios described, then answer the questions that follow. Note that you are only required to submit the answers to the questions for assignment. So even though you're going to work in the spreadsheet, you are only required to submit the answers. Do not submit your spreadsheet. Create a single document containing the answers to the questions. Convert the document into a PDF document and submit the PDF via MyUNISA. So going to work with Excel, then you transfer from Excel to the Word, then from Word you can convert it now to PDF for submission purposes. Right. Then give all numerical answers up to 2 places after the decimal point. So we're working with 2 decimal places. Rates should be given up to 2 places after the decimal point when expressed as percentages. For example, an answer of 0.075 or 7.5% is not precise enough. So your final answers, they should always be to 2 decimal places. Right, so those are the instructions. They are quite helpful as you're going to be doing your assignment. All right. Then question number 1, it says, consider a 5-year investment project that requires an initial investment of 100,000 and will pay out the following at the end of each of the 5 years. So we are given cash flows here from year number 1 up to year number 5, together with the initial investment, which is an outflow. Model the project in a spreadsheet and use the spreadsheet to answer the following questions. So we're going to calculate the NPV, profitability index. And then, of course, you're going to look at a beta investment based on the calculations. And then part C, how would you answer to question A and B change if the discount rate is assumed to be 6.8%? All right, so we're going to change the discount rate. And then part D, suppose that the possible discount rates are 5%, 6%, 7%, all the way to 13%. Perform a sensitivity analysis on the NPV and the PI of the project for this range of discount rates. So we're going to change our discount rate from this lower value to this higher value. Then you want to see how these changes in the discount rates are going to affect the NPV and the PI calculations. And then between which 2 discount rates does the project change from profitable to unprofitable? Give the NPV and the PI values at these 2 discount rates. So that is the whole question. So it's always good to read out the whole question before you start doing anything. It's just a good norm. Eh? We are going to make use of a spreadsheet. So hopefully all of you have got this assignment somewhere nearby so that at least you can also refer to it. So I'm just gonna open my Excel now. Then I'll just, on sheet number 1, let me just type it to question 1. Question 0. All right. And then so if you analyze, you want to put your cash flows. There's also a year. So that is basically what you want to put. So I'm going to, some parts I'm just going to be copying and pasting from what I did, but I'm only going to show you how I was doing it. So in the first cell A1, I'm just going to write calculating the net present value in the PI of an investment project. So that's what I'm going to put in my cell A1. Right. And then on A3, I can put my discount rate. So I'm just going to copy here. Alternatively, if you are typing, that's your discount rate. Then, of course, I can enlarge the row so that my writing can, everything that I'm writing can appear properly. Right? So that is my discount rate. So the discount rate that is given there, if you check, it is 8.3%, is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming a discount rate of 8.3%. Right? So I'm just going to put 8.3%. Okay. In fact, I think you guys have to change on that assignment that I sent because I used a different discount rate. I'm just realizing it now. So it's 8.3%. Just hold on. It's 8 point. Okay, in fact, I'm going to write it as a decimal, 0.08.
0.83.
0.08. Then I'm going to format my cell to put this as a percentage. So you right click on the cell, then you go to cells format. Then this one it's a percentage, so you just go to percentage, then to 2 decimal places. So you see now the cell has changed. We've got the percentage in the percentage form as a decimal form. So that is my discount rate. It's 8 point. So for that, it's 8.3% per annum. And then on my, I'm just gonna put my cash flows. Let me copy off my cash flows. Right, so here, I'll put here in this cell A5, and then the cash flow in B number 5, right? So anyway, I've just copied everything, so I'll just paste them here. So my year start from 0 all the way to year number 5. Then on my cash flows, of course, the first one is gonna be on year 0, which is the initial investment. The initial investment, you put it as a negative because it represents an outgo. Then the other cash flows I just copied and pasted here: 10,000, 10,000, 25, 25, and 60,000. So I formulated my Excel spreadsheet model that I can now use to calculate net present value and the profitability index. Remember the question, you want to calculate net present value and the profitability index. Right. So in this first, in A12, I can write net present value, NPV. So I'm going to calculate my NPV here. And then on A13, I'm going to put my profitability index, that is PI. So how do you calculate net present value? Does anyone still remember? How do you calculate net present value? If you can remember the formula for the net present value, or just write it here, NPV we are going to discount the different cash flows back to times 0, is it? So this is summation of CT over 1 plus T of T. So that is discounting the cash flows. And then you subtract what? The initial investment, I. So that is the formula for calculating the net present value. But however, since I'm using the spreadsheet here, I don't really need to use this particular formula. So if you just come here, then you say equal to, right? I want to put a formula, right? One good thing about Excel, it has got all the different financial calculation formulas that you can think about. They are all embedded inside the Excel. So you just need to be in a position to know how to summon a particular formula. Right? So if ever you want to insert, I'm sure that some of you are quite familiar with Excel. If you want to insert a formula, you always say equal to. Then I want to calculate NPV. So if you just type NPV, it's coming out, net present value. Then you open your bracket. Then it tells you now, the first part you're going to put your rate. So my rate of interest is 8.3%. So I just tap here, which is in B3. Then you separate them by semicolons. Then you have to put your values now, like from what range to what range. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to calculate my net present value of the positive cash flows. That is from cell B7 to B11. You can check the positive cash flows. They are starting from B11, which is this one, all the way to, so I'm just gonna go down, highlighting, all the way to B11. And then I close bracket. That is my NPV. And then let me just put enter for now. But that is not the final answer. I just want to explain something. As you have seen on this formula that we have put, we have only considered the positive cash flows. That is from time 1 to time number 5. I did not include the initial investment. So what I've done here from number 1 to number 5, it corresponds to this part here. We are calculating the discounted values of the cash flows. Are we together? So the next part now is to subtract. It's minus the initial investment. So in my formula again, I'm just going to edit it. I have to subtract, so I say minus. Then the initial investment, right? So we have to be careful about this part now. If I type here, look, it says minus B6, is it? Which is the initial investment. So if you say a minus and a minus, what do you get?
Positive.
Get a positive. So to get around this, I'm just going to change the sign to put a positive, to put a plus. So a plus and a minus, it gives you a minus, because what you want is a minus. So that is the correct formula now for calculating the net present value. And if you can also remember from, from the first assignment, I'm sure they also asked you about how to calculate or to show the Excel formula for the NPV. So the Excel formula for the NPV. Then you just press enter now. So that is the net present value. Right? And then moving on to the profitability index. How do you calculate the profitability index? We don't have a specific formula for the profitability index in Excel. If you can remember, how do you determine the profitability index? You know, if you forgot, let us quickly check on the formulas from a past exam question paper. So I'm just gonna open an exam question paper. So if you can check here, profitability index, that is the formula. On the numerator, we have got summation of the discounted values for the positive cash flows. So this is the NPV for the positive cash flows. Then you divide by the initial investment. That is the profitability index formula. So we're saying that the profitability index formula is the summation of CT over 1 plus I power of T, everything you divide by the initial investment. So I'm going to write down this formula here. Remember, you start with an equal sign so that you are to show that you are putting a formula. Then on the numerator, like I said, this is the net present value of all the positive cash flows. So it's almost similar to what we did for the NPV for the first part. So I'm going to put net present value, NPV, then open bracket, percentage, then semicolon. You're starting from time number 1 to time number 5. Then you close bracket. So that is the numerator, is it? Then you divide. Then you're dividing by the initial investment, I. So the initial investment here, it is minus 100,000, right? So because you want to put it as a positive, to get around this negative, I'm going to put a negative in front. Then I highlight my cell B6. So B6 is a negative number. So a negative times a negative, then you get a positive because I want a positive value. So that is my formula. So try to remember it, even for the exam papers. That is the formula that you use for profitability index. You put a negative after the division. So there you go. It's 0.96. So let me just remove this rand because it's assuming that you're working in rands. It's supposed to be a number. These one places. All right. So that is the profitability index, 0.96. Okay. So we are done with the first part. Calculate NPV and PI, then you get your 2 marks for that. And then part B says, how would you regard the investment, or would you regard the investment as a good investment? Motivate your answer. But what do you think?
It's not a good investment.
Yes. Then motivate your answer.
Because it's a negative number.
Be more specific.
It's a negative amount.
What amount?
The net present value.
Excellent. Yes. So be more specific. Eh? You have to show the examiner that you started this module and you really know what you're doing. So we've got a negative NPV and PI, which is less than 1. Remember, we are dealing with capital project appraisal. There are quite a number of tools that we use to appraise a particular investment project. So here we are only mentioning 2 tools, the NPV and the PI. So if ever you get a negative NPV, then the investment is a bad investment. If you get a PI which is less than 1, it shows that we have got a bad investment. So that is the case that we have here. We've got a bad investment because it doesn't pass these 2 criteria. Right. So if answered part B, then you get 1 mark for that.
Okay.
Then part C, it says, how would your answers to question A and B change if the discount rate is assumed to be 6.8%? So what you simply want to do is to change the discount rate here. So I'm just going to edit it to 6.8. And after that, okay, let me change this one. I'm supposed to put a comma, proper point. So after changing the discount rate, what did you notice now in terms of your profitability index and the NPV? What has happened?
The
Now
profit.
positive. The
Okay,
NPV is now positive and the profitability index is greater than 1.
Excellent. That's right. So that is part C. How would your answers to C2? So you've seen the change to part A, right? What about to part B? Remember, part B was about which would you regard the investment as a good investment and motivate your answer. So let me hear from Swelo. How do you think part B changes?
It would be a good investment because of the PI. The PI is greater than 1 and the NPV is no longer negative.
Excellent, yes. Then you get your 2 marks for that. And then part D, suppose that the possible discount rates are 5% to 13%. Then you want to perform a sensitivity analysis on the NPV and PI of the project for this range of discount rates. Right. So that is the first part. We want to do the sensitivity analysis. So the purpose of doing sensitivity analysis, it is because we know that in real life, if we are doing a capital project appraisal using a single discount rate, like in this case, 8.3%, sometimes this can be different from reality, isn't it? You find that in real life, or as time progresses, the discount rate can either go up or it can go down, isn't it? So the project should be quite robust to the changes or to the smaller changes in the interest rate. It should be able to be still profitable, even though we've got slight deviations from what you expected the discount rate to be. So that is what is all about sensitivity analysis. You want to see how sensitive the investment is to changes in the interest rate. So that's why you've got different ranges here. Some that are lower than 8.3%, for example, 7.65. Some that are bigger than 8%, 9, 10, all the way to 13. So you want to see how the profitability of the project is going to change. So, of course, we are going to measure that profitability by these 2 measures, NPV and PI. Right. So how do you go about doing sensitivity analysis now in Excel? Right. So I'm just going to put another section here for sensitivity analysis. Right. So I'm just going to write in my D3, I'm just going to write sensitivity analysis. Right. And then in D4, I'm going to write discount rate. So let me just copy this. Then you put your discount rate here. When I enlarge my cell, or my row rather, this whole row. And then, so my discount rate, I'm going to put my discount rates from here, going downwards from 5% until the biggest percentage that is mentioned. Then I'm also going to put my NPV. I want to see how the net present values are going to change as we change the discount rates. Then next to that, I'm going to also put my profitability index, PI. So I'm just going to highlight, in fact, I just want to put a border to show a distinction between this part and this part. And then firstly, I have to put my original net present value and profitability index. So in this, I'm going to put a formula. Remember the formula, it's equal to, then I just copy this. Same applies here, this cell. I want to put a formula, is equal to, then I copy this. Oops. Formula, then you copy this, then enter. So that's how you do it. You always put a formula. You're going to see it when you're going to do sensitivity analysis or any part, like for example, if you're using a solver, you have to put the formulas for the values. You don't just copy like a number, just typing in the digits, like 1049.61 typing. You have to copy a formula, like what I did. You put an equal sign shows that there's a formula. That is how the Excel was designed to function. And then in terms of the interest rates, we're going to start from 5%. So let me put it as a percentage, as a decimal first, 0.05. Right, so let me format it to percentage. I need 2 decimal places. It's 5%. Right, and then the same applies here. Let me put 0.06. Then I format it again to, and this is percentage to 2 decimal places. Right. Then I'm just going to highlight these 2. Then when I go down like this, it's going to populate. Right. Let me do up to this last part here. All right. So I'm sure you learn it with time if you don't know. One thing about Excel, there are so many shortcuts that you can use. So it depends on your style. There are so many shortcuts that you can use in Excel. So if you've got your own way of doing it, I'm free to accepting. Perhaps it can improve my efficiency. All right. So that is the column for the discount rates, 5% to 13%. Remember, they have got 1%, 1 percentage difference. So it's 5, 6, 7, all the way to 13. Right. Then now the next step is to actually do the sensitivity analysis. So to do that, I'm going to highlight the different cells that I want to use. So I'm going to highlight everything here. Then after highlighting, you just go up a little bit. I'm going to press data or to tap on data. Then I'm going to use the what if analysis. That is the one that you use to do sensitivity analysis. You use the what if analysis. Then I'm going to work with tables, since I use the table, data table. Then the raw input cell, I'm doing have a raw input cell. I've got a column input cell because I want to work with this column. Right. So I'm going to start with this discount rate of 6%. So it's in B number 3. So I put B3 here. Then equal to. So let me check, what do I have here? Where do I get? Try to increase. Okay, just hold on. We'll go back. Let me quickly put the formulas again. Enter for this one. Enter. So we start from here. What if analysis? All right, yes, there you go. So I think I just made an error in terms of where to start from. I was not supposed to include this discount rate, NPV and PI. So I was supposed to start from here, highlighting everything. So these are the values, and of course, I want to put them to 2 decimal places. I'm just going to highlight everything. Right. Then, firstly, this is money. Okay, let me deal with this one first. Format cell. This is currency to 2 decimal places. Right. Increase. Right. And then on the profitability index, I'm just going to highlight, because remember, we need to give our answers to 2 decimal places. So these are our numbers. So format cell, number to 2 decimal places. Then we are done. So that is sensitivity analysis. As you can see, for 5%, the NPV is 7,769.18. The PI is 1 point something something. So let's look at the trend now. As you increase the discount rate, what is happening to the net present value? Just observe the trend. As you increase the net present value, I mean the discount rate, what is happening to the net present value?
Becomes negative.
Yes. Is it increasing or is it decreasing?
Decreasing.
It's increasing.
What's increasing?
The NPV.
Are you sure NPV is increasing? Positive to negative, is it increasing or is it decreasing?
It's
Oh,
decreasing.
no, it's decreasing.
Yes. So it's one of those things that you have to know in finance, in financial calculations. The higher the discount rate, the smaller the net present value. The smaller the discount rate, the higher the net present value. So if ever you want to increase the net present value, we have to reduce the discount rate. So that is the trend that you can see here. At smaller percentages, there's a higher discount, there's a higher NPV. And then of course the profitability index is also high. As you can see, 1 point something, 1 point something. Then the more you increase in the discount rate, then your PI also becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So that is the first part of performing the sensitivity analysis. So just remember the steps, just like what I did, is to put the formulas here. Then you highlight, you go to data. Then on data, you use the what if analysis. Then you use the table, data table. Then on here, on column input, you put the initial percentage that you're dealing with. Then okay, then everything is just gonna be done for you with the click of a button. So these are some of the things why Excel is very popular to use, be it at work or to perform any calculations, because it's very fast, unlike using a calculator. Imagine if I was using a calculator, I was going to calculate these values individually. NPV number 1, number 2, number 3, all the way to the last one, the PIs. But with Excel, it just does that very quickly. And normally at work, you are dealing with very large data set, so you can't do things manually. You just have to use some methods which are very quick. So in this case, you can just use Excel. Right. So let's answer the part which follows. Between which 2 discount rates does the project change from profitable to unprofitable? Give the NPV and PI values at these 2 discount rates. So let's just check. Between which 2 values of the discount rates. Do we have a change from being profitable to unprofitable? So we said profitable means change being positive. So we want a change from positive to negative. So the change is here. Let me highlight it. That is where the transition is, from positive to negative, from above 1 to less than 1. So they want you to give the corresponding values of the NPVs in the PI. So the NPVs are this. So we've got a change from this to that for profitability index.